B Ontology, a process-based framework for the structure of existence. Author, Irfan Boko, independent researcher, Ontology and Consciousness Studies. Email, irfanboko@gmail.com. Abstract. This paper proposes the B Ontology, a process-based conceptual framework describing existence as a dynamic relationship between activation and stabilization. Rather than introducing a new physical force or metaphysical entity, the model interprets organized systems as sustained threshold transitions within energy gradients. A. Activation moment refers to the critical condition in which available energy enters an organized mode. B. Stabilization moment denotes the temporarily sustained structural configuration that results from activation. Stable existence is therefore understood not as static substance but as the continuous regeneration of organized structure through recursive activation and stabilization. Entropy, within this framework, is defined as the irreversible dissolution of organization when activation can no longer be sustained. Consciousness is interpreted as a higher-order organizational state emerging from complex and sustained A-B dynamics. The A-B ontology does not claim reduction of all phenomena to a binary scheme. Rather, it offers a structural lens for interpreting organized systems across scales, from atomic structure to biological life and cognition. 1. Introduction. Across physics, chemistry, biology, and cognition, stable structures do not emerge from nothing. They arise under specific conditions, particularly when energy gradients and critical thresholds enable organized configurations to form. The persistence of structure depends not on static essence but on sustained dynamic processes. The A-B ontology interprets existence as a recurring organizational dynamic composed of two inseparable moments. A. Activation moment, the threshold transition through which energy enters an organized state. B. Stabilization moment, the structured configuration that temporarily maintains this organization. The central claim of this framework is, stable existence is not a static state but a sustained process between activation and stabilization. 2. A. The activation moment A does not represent a substance, independent field, or external energy source. It refers to a critical transition in which available energy crosses a threshold and becomes structurally organized. In thermodynamic terms, A corresponds to the condition under which energy gradients allow new structural dynamics to emerge. It is not energy itself, but the activation of energy into organized form. A is therefore not an object but a process condition, the moment of organizational activation. 3. B. The stabilization moment B represents the temporarily stabilized structure resulting from activation. If A is threshold crossing, B is sustained configuration. Atoms, molecules, cells, organisms, and cognitive states can all be understood as stabilized configurations. However, stabilization cannot persist without ongoing activation. When the conditions necessary for activation weaken, structure destabilizes. 4. The A-B dynamic existence, in this framework, is cyclical rather than linear. Activation, stabilization, reactivation, restabilization. A enables B. B provides the conditions for renewed A. This recursive relationship allows systems to maintain coherence over time. 5. Entropy and structural dissolution. Entropy is understood here not merely as disorder but as the irreversible loss of organizational sustainability. When energy gradients become insufficient to sustain activation, the A-B cycle cannot regenerate. Stabilization collapses, and structure dissolves. Excessive or uncontrolled activation may destabilize structure. However, this condition is not entropy itself but a breakdown that can lead to entropic dissolution. Entropy therefore represents the terminal failure of sustained activation within a given organizational structure. 6. Consciousness and organizational complexity. Consciousness, within the A-B framework, is not an independent substance or external force. It emerges from highly complex and sustained A-B dynamics. When the organizational structure supporting consciousness dissolves, consciousness ceases. The underlying energetic and material components persist, but the specific configuration does not. Thus, death is not the annihilation of existence but the dissolution of a particular organizational pattern. 7. Scope of the framework. The A-B ontology does not reduce all phenomena to a simplistic binary model. Rather, it proposes that organized systems, across multiple scales, share structural dependence on threshold activation and dynamic stabilization. From atomic bonding to biological metabolism and cognition, persistent form appears to arise from sustained organizational processes rather than static substance. Existence, therefore, is best understood as process. References: Heraclitus, c. 500 BCE. Fragments: Various translations. Early articulation of reality as continual flux and becoming. Prigozhin, I. 1984. Order Out of Chaos. Man's New Dialogue with Nature. New York, Bantam Books. Introduces non-equilibrium thermodynamics and the emergence of ordered structures from energy flow. Schrödinger, E. 1944. What is Life? Cambridge University Press. Proposes the concept of negentropy in living systems. Whitehead, A.N. 1929. Process and Reality. Macmillan. Develops process philosophy, interpreting reality as becoming rather than static substance. Author S-Note. The A-B ontology emerged from long-term conceptual reflection on the structural conditions of organized existence. While conceptually aligned with process philosophy and non-equilibrium thermodynamics, the activation-stabilization schema presented here is formulated independently as a unified ontological framework.